In this video, we'll walk through the process of setting up your workstation with Unity 3D. Our objectives will be to download Unity 3D, install it, configure it, launch it, and set up our account so we're ready to start developing games. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open our web browser, and we're going to direct it to the Unity 3D website, which is www.unity3d.com. And, of course, this is the home page for Unity 3D. We'll use this site from time to time to access various resources and get in touch with the Unity 3D community. They have some great learning tutorials and so forth, and we'll talk more about these things later. But for now, we're going to use this just to get Unity 3D. So up at the top right, there's a Get Unity option. So this brings us to the page that talks a little bit about how to get Unity. It talks about the different types of organizations that you might be. Indie and studios is what we're going to be using today, but there's also enterprise, education, and industry solutions. On the Indie and Studios page, they've got information about the two different versions of Unity. Of course, we're using Unity 5, which is the latest edition. And there's the personal edition and the professional edition. So we'll be using the personal edition. This is the free version of Unity. You can read a little bit about the different features that are supported on the free version versus the professional version. Really the type of things that we're going to be doing in the Coursera course, the Coursera specialization, the personal edition is plenty capable. So moving down, I'm going to go ahead and click the free download. This is where we can actually start downloading. One thing to note is the system requirements for Unity. Basically, a modern Windows computer or a Mac OS X computer with a decent GPU, graphics card, graphics processing unit. They say basically anything since 2004 should work. Of course, the newer your computer, the more powerful your computer, the better. If you want to learn more, you can click Learn More. This will give a little bit more detailed breakdown of what's required for development with Unity and what's required for running back Unity 3D games. I'll go ahead and click back on the browser and begin the download process. So I'm using a Mac OS X computer here. The process is very similar on a Windows computer. I'll go ahead and point those things out as I go. On a Mac, it downloads a DMG file. On Windows, it'll be an exe. In both cases, I can double-click on it, to open that file. On the Mac, it basically mounts a virtual drive, and I'm going to run the Unity Download Assistant application. And go ahead and open that. So this is, the installation process, very typical. Just kind of follow through the steps here. Agree to the licensing agreement and so forth. It'll ask us what components that we want to install, the Unity 3D engine and editor, web player component, standard assets. We generally want these three things. I'm also going to include the fourth, which is the example project, because we'll use the example project in the next video to discuss a little bit about the Unity editor. Go ahead and continue. Where do I want to place it? I'm just going to place it on the main hard drive here and go ahead and start the download process. So this is actually a little bit over 2 gigs of information when we combine Unity itself and all the extra components that we added. So this may take some time to download depending on the speed of your connection. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this to the end of the download. Okay, all 4 components are downloaded, so now we're in the installation process. Once again, this will take a few minutes to get all installed, so we'll go ahead and fast forward through this as well. All right, as you can see, my installation was successful and complete, so I'll go ahead and close the installer. Here on the Mac, it opened up the folder in the finder of where it was installed. If I back out here, you can see it places it right in the application folder. And the folder is just called Unity. On a Windows machine, it would be in your program files folder on the C hard drive. And once again, the folder will be called Unity. Now you can see I've got various older versions of Unity here. I always like to rename the folder with the version number. That way, when I install a new version, I still have the old version around in case I ever need to go back to the older version of Unity. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this. I'll name it Unity 5.1.2 since that's the version that was downloaded. Of course, if you're running through this, you may be on a newer version of Unity because they're constantly upgrading this. You know, I'd say every month at least there's a dot update. And if I open this here on the Mac, it's going to look a little bit different on Windows if you actually go into the Unity folder. I've got the application right here. I believe it's within an editor folder on Windows. You could also rename the actual application name if you want to. You know, you can change it from Unity to Unity 5.1.2 if you want to. I'll just go ahead and keep it as Unity as installed. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this now. And I've already installed Unity, so you might get a slightly different experience here. Sometimes I've noticed when you first launch it, it tries to connect back home to Unity, and you might get a connection error. If that does happen, go ahead and just quit Unity and relaunch it, and the second time through it should work. If this is the first time that you've opened Unity, it might also ask you for licensing information. Once again, you want the personal license of Unity. That's the free version of Unity. So go ahead and select that if it does ask you for that information. The next thing it'll ask is for you to sign into your Unity account. So the Unity account is basically the account that you'll use, to get access to, as they say here, Unity services and resources. You'll definitely want to create a Unity account. There's an option here that says create one. If you click that, it's going to, I believe, open your web browser to the sign up page. And you can run through the process of creating your Unity 3D account. And of course, I've already done this, so I will just skip through this. Okay, back here on the Unity startup screen, I'm going to go ahead and enter my account. And click, make sure that Remember Me is checked so you don't have to log in every time. You can also just click Work Offline if you really don't want to connect back to the Unity servers. But you will want a Unity account in the future for accessing the Unity Asset Store, which we'll talk more about later. So we'll go ahead and sign in. And this will bring you to the screen that you typically will see once you launch Unity. It shows a project tab, which shows the recent projects that have been opened. Of course, yours will be blank if this is the first time that you've installed Unity. There's also a Getting Started tab, which I do recommend that you go to and play this nice little intro video. It talks a little bit about Unity, the community around Unity, and some of the resources available for learning about Unity. Over here, this shows that I am logged in. So from here, of course, I could sign out. I could go to my account on the web, and so forth. If I'm working offline, there would be a little check or a little cross here saying that I'm not logged in. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the Projects tab, and we've got Unity installed. We've got it configured. We've launched it, and we've set up our Unity account. So we're really ready to start using Unity at this point. So in the next video, we'll begin to examine the Unity 3D editor using the example project that comes with Unity.